in different area sizes. It might be small, large, but then work for different durations of time. So you might pre-plan it. We're going to work in a 35-30 area, and we're going to do this for 2 minutes on, 30 seconds off. In that 30 seconds, I'm going to set a quick technical demand or physical demand that I want to.
I'm going to ask Ryan 5 things. I haven't written them down. And he's going to ask me another 5 he probably has written down, because that's the way he is and that's the way I am. So, right, I'll start you off. And I want to talk about, because obviously you're the movement coach, let's talk about movement, let's talk about physical conditioning. So Grassroots coaches may be coaching between under 12s and under 16s. They believe, obviously, in physical conditioning, it's a very delicate age to coach in their development, and in their bodies. So what recommendations would you give towards their training session? Would you just focus on putting it, like incorporating it inside the session as like normal drills, or would you do anything specific? Would you encourage them to find information on the internet? Would you not? Just give me a little bit of your insights on physical conditioning in that age group and that, ability level.
I think first and foremost, it's important to consider each child of that age is going to be at a different stage in their growth as coming into an adult in terms of puberty, muscle mass, even maturity, sometimes in mental and physical states. Every player is different. So for me, you have to provide variation. With that, I mean, in terms of with your session design, working in large areas, which might benefit the more physically matured athletes, or the tinier areas, which might benefit those lads that aren't quite, or girls, young ladies, who may not be physically developed as such just yet. So that's the first thing I'd worry about. So if you're doing a small-sided game or possession practice, work in different area sizes. It might be small, large, but then work for different durations of time. So you might pre-plan it. We're going to work in a 35-30 area, and we're going to do this for 2 minutes on, 30 seconds off. In that 30 seconds, I'm going to set a quick technical demand or physical demand that I want to look for the players to get out of. And with that, you might do some research behind why might I work in large areas. So for large areas, you're going to provide more likelihood of sprinting over large distances. Why might I work in small areas? And that might be to provide more changes of direction if I want to develop my players' agility as such. So that's where you might discreetly implement it into your practices. Now, in terms of 12 to 16-year-olds, it's inevitable you're going to see players struggle physically, whether it be their balance, whether it be their coordination. And the most important thing is you are first as a coach understanding. But the second thing is you have to challenge it. You can't just let them struggle. Can you provide them with a resource? Can it be a quick game of hopping on one leg where their body's having to struggle and then hopefully survive that struggle? And that might be something you do in your warm-up, okay? And it might be something you set your players away from practices. On the other end of the scale, if you've got players who are physically quite advanced, you might pair them up with other players that are quite advanced, rather than always having that dominance over those who are struggling.
Solid challenge, yeah.
With another thing you might want to consider, just for that age group, is really applying a small basic technique of, right, we're going to sprint here to here. So, and go, right, guys, give it your maximum effort. And then we go, right, now we're going to do it in a physical battle where it's a competitive race. You're adding that psychological element as well. And then you might chuck in the ball, right? We're going to sprint 10 meters and it's the first person to get to the ball. So that might be warm-up based, or it might be in a practice when you first feed the ball in, who could be fastest to react, and just setting those obvious and discrete physical challenges as much as possible to facilitate the players that are going through this stage of their life.
And directed at the players, that's probably more orientated towards the coaches. Directing at the players, like a lot of players ask me personally, like, what should I do to improve my fitness on an individual level? I mean, there's a lot of physical and technical stuff going on right now down in lockdown. What would you recommend, 12, 13, 14, 15-year-olds to do some fitness on their own, or just, rely on their training sessions?
think generic fitness as such, not particularly a massive advocate for young players to just solely focus on that, because that's not why they play the sport. You always want to link it back to why am I doing this? Because I enjoy my soccer or my football. So
Right.
in terms of general physical fitness, just play the game. Play the game for more than you did yesterday. Play the game with more kids, or again in a small area on the street or in the park. And that's where you get your conditioning as such out in terms of physical fitness. I think there is a place for physical attributes to be improved, because if you want to jump higher, the most simple way to improve it is, yes, to correct your technique and get the support from a professional, or even do your own research, because at the moment there's so much resources out there. But you have to practice it, repetition, frequency of that action. I want to get quicker, okay? So, right, let's repeatedly sprint, not under a high demand in terms of I want you to run, but certainly under a challenge of, right, every 2 or 3 days, just sprint, open your legs as much as you can over a 20-meter distance 4 or 5 times. And like all things in life, that frequency will certainly become beneficial in long-term sort of goals that you want to achieve. So yeah, for players, particularly at this moment in time, reach out for resources, but the only way to get better is to go practice and enjoy practicing.
Is there any, apart from your own, obviously you do a lot of physical and technical work on your social media, is there any other social media pages that you really recommend? Because obviously there's loads of resources out there, but it's trying to, find that resource that I can trust. So is there any recommendations that you would give? Yeah,
I mean, the most obvious thing I would always go to is to the governing bodies. So in terms of, football would be the Football Association or UEFA or FIFA. They're obviously the most reliable resources for actual evidence-proven content. And that would be the same with sports science. So you'd research the main sports science and strength and conditioning associations and companies. So that might be Science in Sport. It might be the UK Strength and Conditioning Association. And these resources that they'll provide are reliable, and they're quite straightforward in terms of, if you are at this age, this is a good thing to do, rather than making it so unclear of everybody's uncertain what to follow. And I think that's where you get the difficulty, where people look out for your average coach who's got an idea or a suggestion. Let's actually go to the main reliable context and resource, which would be the governing bodies, and they'll provide straight to the point, jumping, landing, turning, spinning, running, getting up, getting down, instructions to help improve physical needs.
I think that pretty much covers the first question. Right.